My name's Elena Reyes. I'm 36 years old. 3 weeks ago, I buried my father. 2 weeks ago, I found a faded envelope taped behind the old oak mirror in his study, a letter my mother wrote the year I was born. It said, "He isn't yours, but you'll raise him as your own. If you ever tell him the truth, I'll make sure everyone knows what really happened to the family ranch." My father died, never saying a word. My mother passed 5 years earlier. That letter cracked open 36 years of silence. And what poured out, about blood, about stolen land, about a man I never knew, shattered every story I'd told myself about who I was. Before we dive in, if family secrets like this hit close to home for you, do me a favor and hit that like button. Subscribe if you want more stories about the truths we bury and the ones that refuse to stay hidden. And drop your city and local time in the comments. I love knowing where this finds you. Let me take you back to a rainy Thursday in late September, the first time I stepped into my dad's study since the funeral. The house still smelled like him. Old coffee, pine wood polish, and that faint hint of motor oil that never quite washed off his hands. I stood in the doorway for a long minute, rain tapping against the window like impatient fingers. The leather chair was empty. His reading glasses sat on the desk next to a half-finished crossword. My boyfriend, Marcus, had offered to come with me. I told him I needed to do this alone. He understood. He always does. I started with the desk drawers, old tax returns, fishing licenses, a stack of birthday cards I'd sent him over the years, my clumsy teenage handwriting wishing him the best dad in the world. Then I moved to the wall. That big antique mirror had hung there forever. My dad said it came from his grandfather's ranch house. I reached up to straighten it, and the frame shifted slightly. Something slid out from behind the backing and fluttered to the floor. A yellowed envelope, my mother's handwriting on the front. For Richard, open only if I'm gone. I sat on the edge of the desk and tore it open. One sheet, dated June 1989. Her neat looping script. "Richard, the blood test confirmed it. He isn't yours, but you're the only father he'll ever know. I chose you. If you ever tell Elena the truth, I'll make sure everyone knows what really happened to the family ranch. This stays between us, forever. Maria." I read it 3 times. The room felt smaller. My dad, Richard Reyes, the man who taught me to change a tire at 12, who drove through blizzards to my soccer games, who held my hand when my mother died, had known since I was a baby that I wasn't his biological son. And he stayed. He raised me anyway. On the back of the envelope in different ink was a phone number, faded but clear. No name, just 10 digits. I called Marcus from the kitchen. "I found something," I said, voice shaking. He was there in 15 minutes. We sat at the table, the letter between us, like evidence. He didn't try to soften it. He just listened while I wrote 4 questions in my notebook. Who is my real father? What did Mom do to Grandma Rosa's land? Why hide this behind the mirror? Whose number is this? That night, I barely slept. At 6:30 a.m., coffee gone cold in my mug, I dialed the number. It rang twice. A man's voice answered, rough like gravel and early mornings. "Elena." I froze. I hadn't said a word. "Elena Reyes," he said again, softer. "I've been waiting for this call for 12 years. My name is Victor Lang." My hand gripped the porch railing. "How do you know my name?" "Your father, Richard, came to see me in 2013. He was already sick. He told me about the letter, said one day you'd find it, and when you called this number, I should be ready to tell you everything." Richard drove 3 hours to meet a stranger while chemo was eating him alive. That hit harder than the letter itself. Victor said we needed to meet in person, not over the phone. I agreed. But before I could drive to his place in the next county, my uncle showed up. Uncle Miguel, my mother's brother, pulled into the driveway in his shiny black truck. No warning. He walked in like he owned the place, talking about helping sort Dad's things. His wife, Carla, followed, already eyeing the furniture. They started opening drawers, boxing up tools from the garage. When I told them the house was mine under Texas intestacy law, no will, one child, Miguel smiled that oily smile and said, "Your mom mentioned something about a handwritten note leaving things to family. We'll sort it." That afternoon, I called an estate lawyer in Austin. She confirmed the house, the remaining acreage, everything should go to me, unless someone produced a valid competing claim. Miguel had already filed a handwritten will at the county courthouse, dated 6 months before my dad died, leaving the property to him and Carla to keep it in the family. My instincts screamed forgery. I'd been a local reporter for 8 years. I knew how these things smelled. 2 days later, I drove to meet Victor Lang. He lived in a modest house on the edge of hill country, workshop in the back, smelling of fresh-cut cedar. Tall man, silver at the temples, eyes the same hazel I saw every morning in the mirror. He didn't hug me, just nodded like he'd been practicing this moment. Over coffee and a box of old documents, he told me the story. He met my mother in 1988. She was 24, working at a diner. He was 31, doing construction. It was brief, intense. She ended it suddenly, said she'd met Richard. 2 months later, she was married and pregnant with me. Richard found out via blood test when I was 6 months old. He chose to stay, but my mother had a secret bigger than the affair. In 1991, she and Uncle Miguel convinced my grandmother Rosa to sign over the mineral rights on 60 acres of family ranch land. They told her it was just a tax paperwork thing. It wasn't. They created an LLC in the family name, sold the rights to an energy company for a chunk of cash my grandmother never saw. The royalties had quietly flowed to my mother and uncle for decades, hundreds of thousands over the years. Richard knew. He couldn't confront her without risking everything, so he wrote the letter, hid it where she'd see it daily but never dare touch it, and put Victor's number on the back as a lifeline for me. Victor gave me copies of everything: deed transfers, LLC filings, royalty statements still going to my uncle's address. On the drive home, my phone rang. It was Carla. "Where have you been? We've been trying to reach you about the memorial service this weekend. Your dad would have wanted the whole church there. They'd already planned it at my house, without asking." I told the lawyer, Sarah Klein, everything. She'd been recommended by Victor. Richard had hired her years ago to set up a small trust in my name and safeguard the documents. Sarah said she'd attend the memorial, bring the letter, bring the records. The service was on Saturday. About 40 people crammed into the living room. Uncle Miguel greeted everyone at the door like the grieving host. Carla had rearranged the furniture, taken down most of the family photos, and put up old pictures of her and my mother as kids. They circulated a sympathy card that, on the back, had a paragraph affirming my dad's wish to transfer the house to them, a quiet power move in front of the whole congregation. When it reached me, I didn't sign. Tension thickened. Carla pulled me aside in the kitchen, loud enough for everyone to hear, and accused me of being ungrateful, of only caring about money while I'd been chasing stories instead of being there for my parents. The room went quiet. Sides were forming. I stepped outside, called Victor. "Come now, bring the box." He arrived 20 minutes later. When he walked in, Carla's face drained of color. She recognized him instantly. "What the hell is he doing here?" I stood. "Everyone, this is Victor Lang. He's my biological father, and he has proof of what really happened to my grandmother's land." I read the letter aloud. Then Sarah presented the certified county records showing the mineral rights transfer, the LLC, the money trail. The room erupted in murmurs. My grandmother's old neighbor stood up and said she remembered Rosa crying on the porch in '91, saying Maria took something from me. Carla tried tears, then anger. She called me a mistake. Victor calmly said I was never a mistake. Richard had told me I was the best thing that ever happened to their family.
Miguel and Carla left in a hurry. The memorial ended in stunned silence, but people started shaking my hand, hugging me, telling me Richard was a good man. Monday, Sarah challenged the handwritten will. The signature was forged. Handwriting expert confirmed it within days. The judge froze everything. We sent a demand letter for the royalties, estimated over $180,000 across the years. I didn't push for criminal charges. I just wanted the truth on record and the money returned where it belonged. The civil case would handle the rest.
The trust money from my dad hit my account a week later. Small, but meaningful. He'd been quietly saving for years, knowing trouble might come. There was a second letter from him, given to Sarah. Elena, if you're reading this, you found the truth. I'm sorry I couldn't say it myself. I was scared you'd think I loved you less. But I chose you every single day. You were never second best. Use what I left to stand tall. And if Victor is half the man I think he is, give him a chance. You'll always be my son. Dad. I cried in my car for a long time. Over the next weeks, the town talked. Miguel stepped down from church boards. A couple of his contracting jobs dried up. Carla stopped calling. Grief was messy. I missed my dad's quiet strength. I missed my mother's cooking and her Sunday calls, even while the anger burned. You can love someone and still see their worst choices clearly. The two feelings sit in the same room. Victor and I started slow. Saturday mornings in his workshop. He taught me to measure twice, sand with the grain, build something real instead of just talking about the past. No pressure to catch up on 36 years at once. Just time, sawdust, country radio, a crooked shelf I hung in my living room. I put both letters in frames on the wall, visible, no longer hidden. The truth didn't destroy my family. The lies did. Once the secrets were out, I could finally start building something honest. I still talk to Marcus late at night when the house feels too quiet. He just listens. That's enough for now. My name is Elena Reyes. I had a father who chose me knowing the truth. I have a biological father who waited decades for one phone call. My mother and uncle built their comfort on stolen land and silence. For the first time, I know exactly who I am, not because of the stories they told me, but because I had the courage to look behind the mirror. If you're sitting on a family secret or suspect one is sitting on you, ask the question, make the call, open the drawer. It might unravel everything, but what's left standing will be real. That's my story. If it stayed with you, like, subscribe, and tell me in the comments. Have you ever discovered a family truth that changed everything? Was it worth it? I'll see you in the next one.